Hey guys, Ben Paint here, and today we're back once again for another video, and this time we are at Rye House for the 10th and final round of the Club 73 Weekend Series. Obviously we've had 9 other rounds of this, gonna head into this one and see how we do today. I believe we're in for the contention of a decent finish, but we've just got to really got to head down today and see what we can do. Now it is a very windy and wet day, as you can probably see from some of the external footage that I've left on the screen, so we're just going to jump into it and see how we can do. Now obviously the format for this one is a 5-minute practice followed by a 30-minute straight race, and we are starting in 13th position on the inside of the grid for once, so we're going to see how we can do. Now before we jump into the rest of the footage, if you do enjoy this video, can you please leave a like on it down below, as I really do appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as it really does help me out. This is our last outdoor race of the year, so we're going to give it our all, but let's jump straight into the footage and see how we get on today. Jumping straight into the footage then, guys, we find ourselves starting on the inside of the grid, which obviously gives us a big advantage compared to the drivers on the outside. However, it was raining, so I knew that being on the inside was going to be very slippery, so we just wanted to try and keep it as stable as possible going around the first few corners. And as you can see on screen, all sorts of chaos was kicking off. We're getting sandwiched, loaded, we're getting barged all over the place, and it really was a bit of ping pong going on all over the shop. And unfortunately, as we come into the second hairpin on the track, Reggie Mosley tries to squeeze up the inside off the track, and it ends up spinning us out into essentially last position. Luckily for us, we weren't completely last, as if you did spot very quickly there on the left hand side, Megan Quirk actually had been sort of barged into the wall as well, so she had been sort of rendered completely void from the race, unfortunately for her. So we do jump forward in this one very quickly to later on in, or the next lap. As you can see, we've managed to catch up with everyone after our spin, and now we're just going to try and pick off and pick our way through the pack as quickly as possible. Obviously using Harrison Kirkham up ahead as a bit of a reference, because he obviously got taken out with us at the beginning. And you can see already off the restart we did have a little yellow flag there, but unfortunately we weren't able to capitalise on this very well. So up ahead of us we have got Connecticut Racing Team teammate Joseph Simcox, so I was going to hope to work with him and maybe get through the pack as much as we could. On the right hand side there you can see more chaos is sort of ensuing, as we've got Mr. Cosmin who spun round, and now we're just going to try and get a head down once again, trying to get a little switchback on Joe to try and get him out of the way pretty quickly, but unfortunately we didn't quite get the drive out of the corner. So you can see here it gives me the universal symbol to work together, which I was absolutely happy to do. I tried to follow him down the inside here, but obviously on the inside of this first corner you have very minimal grip. Luckily we're able to make our way past Luke Power there, who was on the outside, and we're able to slot in behind Joe once again. So we're looking here, seeing where we can position the car. Unfortunately we move it to the outside. Luke then capitalises on this, and up ahead once again we've got Jack Philpott is almost spinning the driver ahead as well, so it's all really kicking off, and now we're slotting in behind Sean Russell once again. So I was really annoyed at this point because Joe was able to get through, and I was sort of a little bit stuck, going a little bit wayward there on the straight. I decided to try and go round the outside, and luckily we're able to pull it off into the pylon corner, actually gaining 2 positions for the price of 1. So we've now moved ourselves up from 25th back up to 20th, so now we're really trying to get our head down once again. We're having a little bit of a battle here with Jack Philpott on the left hand side, but once more he's able to get a better run out of the corner compared to me. We're pretty equal on the straight, sort of rubbing bumpers with one another, and I decided once again to try and take that tighter line down the inside, but unfortunately you can see we're just washing ourselves out wide. There's not a lot of grip, the cart's not really gripping up and biting on the corner, but we are looking to try and get a better exit out of the corner, and we look for the inside, but unfortunately don't quite commit to it. And once again Luke Power has been able to dive down our inside, much like he did on the previous lap, to make that move stick. So here once again I was looking to set up a switchback. We get a bump from behind, it bumps us into the driver up ahead, but luckily for us we don't really lose out too much on it, so we've now moved up 2 places into 19th place, looking to try and stick to that outside line once again, because there was a little bit more grip there, and luckily we were able to make those positions stick. So we've now managed to gain 6 positions so far in this race from after being rendered at the back of the pack, and now we had our eyes set on Adrian Perez up ahead. We've got Reggie Mosley, the one who had spun us out earlier in the race. He's now spun himself out there, so a little bit of karma there for that one, but we move on up into 17th place, so we've gained another 2 positions off of 1 corner essentially, and up ahead of us once more is James Bracey. So we're going to try and look for another move as quickly as possible, as up ahead of him is Joe, so we are keeping pace with Joe Simcock up ahead. James goes a little bit wide here, and I take a little leaf out of Luke Power's book here, just sending it up the inside. There seems to be a bit of grip on that inside curb, so we managed to hook up the car and get a nice run out of the corner. So we do skip forward again a few laps just because we just went trundling around a little bit, and up ahead of us we've got Joe and Mr. Event Organiser himself, Clinton Bell. So we're hoping to try and get our head down and stick up with them, but unfortunately we just go a little bit too hot into the corner and have to really jam the brakes on to ensure that we do not go slamming into the back of Joe. So unfortunately, all of the progress that we've made throughout the race so far has now just been null and void, and we are back into 22nd, which actually was 23rd, but obviously Megan was unfortunately a lap down due to being put into the barrier on that first lap. So we do make an overtake on her pretty quickly. I didn't realise at the time, I thought that was for position, but it wasn't. We were just sort of getting past her to lap her once again, and once more up ahead of us we have Harley, who goes a little bit too hot into the corner and he actually tags Jack Philpott. So once again we get a sort of free position out of trying to make an overtake, so that's 2 for the price of 1 once again, and then we jump forward once more as we've managed to catch up with James Bracey for the second time in this race. And this was a nice little ding-dong battle that we have with one another, trying to set up switchbacks, trying to get better runs out of the corner. We're coming back down towards the pylon corner now. We are fighting for 19th position, but it was still a little fun battle that we had here. James goes pretty defensive into the next corner. I decides to take the wet line, which is obviously sticking to the outside lines of the track, just as this is where there's more grip provided for us, and we managed to sort of sneak our way around him and tiptoe past, going into the final corner to move ourselves back up into 19th place. We skip forward again a few laps as we now catch up with Mr. Cosmin and Mr. Perez, who are having a little battle with one another, and we're just hoping to get involved. Obviously we're about halfway through the race now at this point, or moved on halfway. We get a very good run coming out of the first corner, and we actually are now about to try and perform a move around the outside of Mr. Cosmin. So we're really trying to hold that momentum around the outside, as we know that's where the grip is, and we actually managed to make the move stick. So once again, just diving quite deep into the corner to ensure that a switchback can happen, and this allows us to make that move up into 18th place and then give the universal sign to work together to try and catch up with Adrian, who we've now managed to catch up with later on in the race once again. So at this point, 15 laps in, we're really trying to motor now to try and make up for all that lost time that we had from those 2 spins at the beginning of the race. So diving up the inside, much like Luke Power taught us earlier in the race once again, and then once more we're hoping to try and hug it to the apex, but unfortunately we just go a little bit too hot into the corner, and that causes us to lose our momentum. We skip forward again to the next lap, and now we're able to set up a nice switch back into the final corner with Adrian up ahead of us. We're then side by side down the main straight. He has a little bit more momentum going down the straight, as he is a little bit lighter than me, but luckily we're able to hold that inside line, sort of demand our respect there on the inside, and we're able to dive it down his inside and keep that position. So now we're up into 17th place. He goes for a little bit of a resend into the next corner, but luckily we're able to hold it. We then go a little bit wayward into the next couple of corners. You can see Adrian's still down our inside there on the left hand side, so we're still having a little battle with one another, but in the back of my mind at this point we were still trying to close down the guys who are up ahead of us. Adrian gets a nice run out of the second hairpin there, but unfortunately he doesn't quite cover the corner off enough, or the straight off, and we're able to just slot down around the outside, take the wet line on the outside to keep our grip up, and we're able to secure that position finally up into 17th place. Later on, once again, we then just have a little bit more pace than Vito after we had a little bit of a sort of speed run up to him, so we're able to sort of breeze past him nicely. And again, we've got Joe on our right hand side, who has unfortunately taken a little spin as well, much like we have earlier in the race. So that was another 2 positions for the price of 1, which seems to be the theme of this video so far. Coming a few laps later, we're on lap 22 now. Our fastest laps are 54.717. We're catching up to the guys up ahead, going very wayward here into the puddles, drinking a lot of water, but it was still a lot of fun. And we've got Adam Beaumont up ahead of us. We try and take a little bit of a cheeky dive down the inside, trying to find that grip, but unfortunately it doesn't come, so we have to sort of succumb ourselves back to 15th place once again. But we weren't going to give up. A lap later, we're now bearing down on him once again, coming out of this first corner. We get a very good launch coming around the first couple of corners, and now coming into the first hairpin, we're really trying to look for a move down the inside, and we're able to just glide our way past him very nicely. And the lap you are in fact watching is in fact the fastest lap that I performed of the race. So we're going to stay on board with this one, as I think this was a pretty good lap time. It was actually the 4th fastest lap time out of everyone that was competing on the day in any final, so I was really happy with this one to be on the pace. And maybe if we were able to do this a little bit more consistently rather than spinning around and being a ballerina, we probably could have had the pace to be up for a podium, but who knows, we never know. We just have to take this one on the chin, as you're going to see where we end up. But coming down to the start finish line now, we've got a group of 3 drivers up ahead of us once again. So we've got Clinton Bell, Tom Langford and Luke Power up ahead of us, having a little bit of a battle with one another. Obviously our fastest lap there at 53.951, so I felt like I was on for some really good pace now at this point in the race, and I just wanted to sort of preserve this, carry it on, and hope we could make a few more positions going into the latter stages of the race. Obviously we're down in 14th position, and this round was going to be a round where we had to commit our double points, so whatever position we ended up in, we were going to get double points for that round, as we haven't actually used it for the rest of the season. So unfortunately for Tom there, he's sort of been overtaken by Luke Power, and now we're sort of lining up our own move on him ourselves. He gets his exit compromised a little bit there, but we do just get on the power a little bit too early, so you can see it really sort of waves us out, or washes us out wide, and we just sort of lose all our momentum as well. But coming back down the start finish straight here, you can see we're really on the back of this train, and we're going to hope to try and make some moves stick if we can. So much like we did earlier in the race, we try and do that cheeky little dive down the inside. We try and hold it to the middle of the track. On this occasion, unfortunately, it doesn't quite work. We almost end up spinning Tom out there. Luckily we were able to sort of back off a little bit and ensure that didn't happen. But once again, we're trying to take a little bit of a wider line, unfortunately giving Tom a few taps there, losing ourselves under the braking a little bit, and we get sort of bundled out wide. We try and set up some sort of switch back here as we then travel towards the pylon corner. So now you can see we're side by side once again, sort of compromise ourselves to the drivers up ahead a little bit, but we're really going to try and hang it around the outside of Tom here, leading into the inside for the next corner, really hoping to try and hug that apex. And luckily we're able to make the move stick before we then reach these yellow flags, and they go out pretty quickly once again, so we have to get underway once more. We do lose a little bit of momentum into the last corner before the start finish straight, but that is yet again another position that we've been able to make up, and we come across the line there obviously with that yellow flag at 55.896. So we're hoping to try and get that momentum back that we had earlier in the race, using all of the track limits here, and then trying to drive in as straight a line as possible. You can see we go very wayward there through the puddles and just drinking all the water that we can, and we can see there's now a group of 4 drivers up ahead of us. We've got Tom trying to send us back down the inside once again. Didn't want to give up that position too easily, especially as I saw all the drivers up ahead were having a nice little battle with one another. Really wanted to get involved here. You can see Tom there on our right hand side again. He's giving us a lot of pressure now at this point, but I really just wanted to get my head down, try and catch up with the other guys who are up ahead, and hopefully make a few more positions. This is what we try and do here. We have a little bit of a tank slapper with Clint there on the inside of the corner. We then hang it around the outside for the last couple of corners on the lap, and you can see here we try and get the driver out of the last corner, but unfortunately it doesn't quite come, which then gives Clint back the position, so we then have to tuck in behind him. I give Tom behind us the signal that to try and work together to try and make a few more positions up, as I didn't really want to sit in 13th place. I still knew that there was a couple of laps left in this one for us to make some decent moves and decent positions, so we're really trying to get our head down at this point in the race to see what we can do. So coming into the couple of hairpins here, Clint goes for a massive load into the back of Toby McAllister Brown up ahead. Tom's able to capitalise on my shock just by going down our inside, and luckily for us we're able to get an absolutely immense drive out of the double hairpin, and we're able to get a double switchback on Clint and Toby McAllister Brown. We get bundled a little bit wide here, going straight through the river into the barriers. Luckily we're able to keep the car on the track and not completely die. You can see I'm shaking my head, didn't really enjoy that one, but we did make 2 positions from that, and Tom was able to make his way through as well, so it's a bit of a bonus for both of us. We were both able to make 2 positions there on that occasion. Well, Tom was able to make 3, I was able to make 2, and once more we do jump ahead here as we were working together to try and catch up with the guys up ahead. And on the inside here we have actually got Jack Goldsmith, who at the time I didn't realise, I thought he was overtaking me, but he wasn't overtaking me for position. We were in fact getting lapped here, and I didn't realise this at the time. So you can see here I tried to pull out to the right to try and get a bit of a run on him, and then I clock that no, he's actually in first place for this race. So Tom then waves Jack through. I then try and capitalise on this by trying to follow him through, so we go up the inside here. Unfortunately we don't quite have the grip on the inside, we just go a little bit wayward here, give Tom a couple of taps. I try and apologise, but I don't think he sees me. We back off here, and this compromises us to Clint up our inside once again, so we've now lost another position up the inside. But luckily for us, we do hang it around the outside on the grippy parts of the track, and we do find a little bit of grip on the inside by running over the curb there, and that moves us up into 12th place. But then side by side with Tom Langford, which unfortunately weren't able to sort of preserve 11th position there. We just get stuck down in 12th, and now we're really going to try and motor our way through. We get that grip on the inside over the white curb, and luckily we're able to move ourselves up and gain another position. So now we really want to get our head down and see what we can do for the rest of the race. James Bracey up ahead of us there. Unfortunately, he has another spin, and unfortunately for us, it wasn't 4th position as he was getting lapped as well. But we do come across the line there, and honestly, for the rest of this race, we just skipped to the end because nothing else really happened here. We had some really good pace, as you will see from the last lap that is coming up and the lap time, but unfortunately it was just a little bit too little too late. So we come across the line here in this one for an 11th place finish, which I was pretty disappointed with. You can see there I'm tilting my head back as I felt like I drove as best I could, but unfortunately a couple of mistakes and spins and getting taken out, it just led to us finishing in a position which was a little bit lower than we wished. And obviously from this, as I mentioned, we had double points for this round, so we only got 20, and this rendered us to finish in 10th place overall for the end of the year, which is a couple of positions lower than last year, and I think we could have finished a lot higher within that top 5 with a good result today. However, this does give us something to build on moving into 2025, and I'm really excited for. However, this does in fact bring us to the end of the video, guys, so I hope you have enjoyed this one. If you have, can you please leave a like on the video down below, as I really do appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as it really does help me out. But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.